I can't do it with people around. It's so difficult. It's so difficult. Hi guys, so today work continues on getting the base for the greenhouse sorted. I've got to just measure up the sleepers and then get them cut to size and put them on the base. This is my parents' lovely garden that I'm in. They've been keeping the sleepers for me. So let's go, let's get started. So the sleepers have been cut down to size. They fit perfectly, so that's the good news. The bad news is that the foundation I laid out is slightly off. So first, with the sleepers still in place, I'm just going to go around, dig out some of the foundation which is on the inside, which is where it's too small, and just put that over the other side and kick it in a bit. That's not obviously going to be suitable for the final thickness or stability, so it's just giving me an idea of where the shape is so that I can go around, tamp it down properly afterwards. So the timber sleepers that I managed to get for the greenhouse foundation, they were a 2.4 meter softwood, and the softwood that I got has been pressure treated, so it's guaranteed to last for a good 15 years, which is very good for an allotment. Obviously it is going to be sat on the ground and it will be getting wet, so it's good that I've got the pressure treatment. Now, we only did 2 cuts in the end. We wanted to minimize the number of cuts because when you cut through pressure treated timber, it leaves the cut end vulnerable to water ingress and eventually rot. So I've got some Creocote, and that was specifically to do the edges, but I do have a 4-litre tub. It was the smallest I could get, and so I will use as much as I can. Basically, I'll start on getting the bases done, which are going to be laid on the floor because obviously they're the most vulnerable, but whatever's left over I'll use as much as I can. So with that sorted, I can now get started on getting the Creocote on them and making them last. So when these sleepers were bought, I saw online that they were pressure treated, but I just wanted to show you a really quick and easy way to know for sure whether or not your wood has been pressure treated. It's only softwood that ever is, but you should be able to see there's a green tinge to the wood, a kind of green staining, and that is a surefire way of knowing that the wood has been pressure treated, and it should last a good long time. So with our first sleeper in place, the first thing you have to do is pick your position for doing anything with potentially toxic chemicals, and this part of the plot is not going to be used for any growing. It is biodegradable, but I still wouldn't want this in my crops. So I picked a space where I know I'm not going to be growing anything. This is going to be a seating area eventually, one day. We start by putting this stuff just in a suitable container. And I'm going to start on this end, which is one of the ends that was sawn. This is one of the ends that we cut, and the ones that I'm most worried about. I've just got it raised up off the ground slightly, and we'll get going. You want to make sure that the excess is kind of off the brush, because you don't really want this dripping everywhere. And you want to make sure the wood, especially at the end, is fully saturated. This stuff should fully absorb into the wood. So after applying with the sawn end, you can literally see it being absorbed into the wood, and you can see the ends of the wood drying out. So you do have to be very patient with this. You can just about see, especially on this bottom corner there, how the wood will dry out as it's fully absorbed. So I thought I'd do a quick little segment that I'll put at the start of the video. I've finished work for the day, but there are a few mistakes that I've made and a couple of things that I'd just like to really underline and clarify before you see me continue with the work. I really want to reiterate that this stuff is toxic and you need to be really careful when you're using it. I should have been wearing gloves. It's an irritant, and I had gloves ready and I just forgot to put them on. Very silly, don't do that. And I really want to underline that this stuff is not safe to be used around any watercourses. So if you've got any ponds or anything like that, which are a fantastic thing to have in your allotment, or your gardens for wildlife, they bring lots of benefits for both biodiversity and your garden. They'll bring along lots of predators for slugs and that kind of thing. So I recommend having a pond. I would like to get one here, but I haven't got one yet. But yeah, be really careful when you're using this stuff. You'll notice halfway through I do put a plastic sheet down on the ends because there's a lot of liquid that's pooling there. So the other major mistake I made is not creating a better staging area for the timber. I've only been able to cover 3 sides, the tops and the sides, and because the bottom is flat on the soil at the moment, it means I can't paint that, obviously. If I had a higher staging area, I would have been able to maybe duck under and paint the bottoms of it that way. But the way I've done it, it's not the end of the world. I will leave these to dry and I'll flip them over. So the greenhouse base will be going onto the unprotected side, the bit that I haven't put the Creocote on. The wood will still be fine. It's pressure treated, it's fine. This is just an extra precaution. So I'll flip it over, and the bottom will be extra protected from the elements. So, having given this a few coats, I'm just going to go across the top layer, but first there's a few bits of mud on here, so I'm just going to go over it with a dry brush. It's important that there's no debris or anything like that, so that it can form a good seal with the wood. So same again with this one, really. Important to get the brush on it first. Make sure we've got a pretty clean surface to begin working with. This is the ASMR shot, the Bob Ross shot. So with those 2 sawn ends taken care of, I've still got the majority of this Creocote in the bottle. I've also got quite a lot left in the bucket, so it makes sense for me to give these all a nice quick coat. I should mention, of course, that one of the reasons I'm doing it this way is because we're not allowed any concrete or anything like that on these plots, which I think is completely fair. But the design I'm using does also mean that if we do eventually move away from this plot, then it should be relatively easy to disassemble and take it with me, you know, if needs be. I could move this in the greenhouse anywhere we end up in the future. So yeah, concrete would be nice for stability, but I hope that this method will work just fine. So I've finished the sleeper coats. They've all had a good few coats of the Creocote, paying special attention to those ends. I'm going to leave them to dry. They need a good 48 hours. and then I'll pop them back on here, make sure they're all level, and I'll finally be able to get this greenhouse secured. Say hello to Jess in the shot. Hi Jess. So yeah, then I'll finally be able to get this greenhouse onto here, get it glazed, and finally start growing some seedlings. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, a little progress update on how the greenhouse is coming along. It's really exciting, it's nearly there now. The next few days are going to be kind of agonising waiting for this to dry. I would love to be able to get it on there right this second, but unfortunately I can't. It was slightly more instructional, this one. I hope it might help some people who are in a similar position. They want to put a greenhouse up on a plot. I struggled to find much information on this. I've sort of been winging it, to be honest, figuring it out as I go along. But yeah, hope it was helpful, and hopefully see you again next time.